So after seeing all the misconceptions that are commonly all over the internet about autopilot versus full self-driving versus what is Super Cruise or anything of the other systems work, all of which we have access to, decided I would do a series of testing videos with each iteration of full self-driving demonstrating on a controlled test loop that we will repeat with both the Y and the Cybertruck to demonstrate where they currently sit as Tesla progresses from this point forward. To give you a little history, we've owned Teslas for nearly 10 years, along with a whole series of other plug-in hybrids and electric vehicles, starting with the Volt on. Which means we have seen, over that time frame, the progression from Autopilot 1, which kind of sort of kept you in your lane but tried to kill you a lot, through Autopilot 2, which kept you in your lane and tried to kill you less, to 3, which actually does a pretty good job and changes lanes and does what it's supposed to and really does work exit to exit, but was really only been on the highway, to now full self-driving, which under the 3.0 iteration works pretty well, albeit not very natural and human-like, to what we see now with the Autopilot 4.0 hardware and the current revision, which I'll put right there for this particular video, where it feels very human-like and makes a few mistakes here and there. At the end of this video, I'll document what its score was for the Cybertruck. We'll be doing a similar video for the Y, which honestly did so well, there was nothing really to score. For the two ways that we will score this is, did I have to take it back to do a safety reason? Did it do something crazy like drive on the wrong side of the road? And did it disconnect on its own and hand the vehicle back because it didn't know what to do? Which in this case, it did exactly once. So, let's go watch the video. Let me know in the comments anything else you'd like to see me do with these moving forward, and let's go. See how she does. So we did this drive yesterday with the Y. Due to a technical difficulty, we had a little issue with the video, so I may edit parts of it in. It drove it from the house with a single button push, through the gate, actually approached it at a fast enough speed, and took us almost all the way to the charger. It did not like two torrential downfalls, where it lost visibility enough that it gave up, which, you know, I'm okay with. I'm sitting in the driver's seat, but how does that work if we're actually at the point where the car is driving itself and you don't have to be paying attention? Does it give up and make you climb out of the back seat? I think that's a really good reason why all of the big full self-driving companies have predominantly been running in kind of fair weather climates. But Florida's not that. We get big, very short usually, rainfalls that will just completely wipe out your visibility. So it'll be something to see how they handle this moving forward. This section used to confuse my S, which was a version 3 autopilot car, and so far, we'll see how the Cybertruck does with it today. The last couple of times I've come through it, it has done a good job. It cheats a little, but everybody who actually drives it does over the line. It is very narrow through here with no shoulder.
It's hard to see in the camera, but when some of the trees here will be right up against the edge of the shoulder, and there are people's mirrors where they've been busted off. So I will be taking it over once we get up to the front of this line. Even though I have seen our Y go through here with the flaggers, I'm not going to put the flagger's life in jeopardy when I'm just playing with autopilot effectively. So, well, once we get up to the front of the line, I'm going to take it over until we get through the flaggers here. At some point in the future, I may do a test where it's more controlled to see how it actually handles the flaggers flipping the signs, but that's not today. In this case, I'm sure it would have handled it fine. We're staying on the side of the road we're supposed to be for this. I have seen it actually jog over and follow the cone path. But given all of the work that's being done right here, and the number of pedestrians and workers that are just moving back and forth across the road, I just don't feel safe experimenting with it at the moment. is crazy to me, and I'm pretty sure this won't stand up long term, but this current drive, where we've been driving for almost 40 minutes, a not insignificant part of it at highway speeds, we're at 368 watt hours per mile. That's better than my 2016 S did driving around normally, and far better than our same model year X did. I mean, our lifetime on the car right now is 419, which is still pretty phenomenal for the size of this, when almost all of that 2,700 miles has been road trip miles above 70 miles an hour. In most cases, above 80 miles an hour. So far, the efficiency on the non-beast standard all-wheel drive version is actually really good. It's one of the things that I think is a little disingenuous on a lot of the tests that have been done. All the testers are buying the Cyberbeast, which is the least efficient and most prone to issues because it's got all of the added complication of the third motor version of the truck. My general rule with Teslas is you don't buy them until they cross VIN 30,000, and with this, I wasn't willing to buy it given the huge amount of additional technology they added in, and until it crossed to VIN 60,000, and we're up in the high 70,000 range. Tesla tends to like to push innovation at the beginning of their models, and then get early adopters to pay a premium for the beta version of the product. It's a very technology world thing to do, but this isn't an iPhone. You're not going to replace it in 2 or 3 years, hopefully. It's something that you have to be able to move around, and has to work, and has safety implications if you don't get it right. As much as I love the move fast and break things model in the technology space, I don't think it actually applies all of that well to cars that are driving themselves. Find early adopters who understand the implications and are willing to take control, but you can't build a company on early adopters. Just ask Lucid. It just doesn't work out. Old McDonald's logo. Must be a really, really old location. be a camping world nearby. If the camera will see it, probably not. There's a huge American flag. Yep, Camping World Supplies. Apparently, there's been some cities where they have been sued because the flag is too big, which is just ridiculous. Okay, so yesterday in the Y, this was where the Y would give up. Not while we were moving, because
Now turn left onto Highway 60 East.
the forward-facing camera, yep, doesn't get blocked. But I don't think the forward-facing camera is integrated in the full self-driving computer yet. So you're since it's not using it, you get a lot of rain, the system gives up. This is where I wonder, how does this work with the robotaxi? You get in a bunch of rain unless they've integrated this camera, and that's why it's also there on the Y, which then would make sense. But as soon as I get driving and it clears the rain off the windshield, which this slope pretty much does without the windshield wiper, then it'll let me re-enable it. Now it's back. This camera, much like the
In
side
1,000
cameras,
feet, turn left onto Old Lake Wales Road. Old Bartle Lake Wales Road.
self-wicks based on the airflow around the camera. So it does a very good job. Where they mounted it, it stays out of more stationary rain, unlike obviously the windshield.
Now turn left onto Old Lake Wales Road.
How come every time I go to charge and the EV go, it's raining? I'm going to stand out in the rain while I wait for it to do its process of authorizing the vehicle. Unlike Tesla superchargers, where you get out, you plug in the cable, you get back in, and you're out in the rain or the cold or whatever for a few seconds at best. It took minutes for it to finish
In
the
500 feet, turn
safety
left.
check and get the system to authorize payment and all of that. So, yeah, okay. I don't know why you weren't just going, but there was no way the self-driving was going to do except you flashing lights at it and to know what to do. So, okay, well, here we are. I'm going to jump out and get the charging session going. This four-wheel steering totally spoils you in parking. Every time I park anything else now, I come in at the wrong angle. So, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this Bullard lines up directly with where you would need to plug it in either the Cybertruck or the Sierra. Time to get going again. Got my coffee and another, about an hour back. Yourself. If we had just gone up to the intersection, this would have been a far easier turn for it, but I'm sure this is faster. And go. Go. Yeah, this guy's gonna go around me now.
Now turn sharp right onto Central Avenue West.
That was a little more hesitant than I'm used to it being, and had it taken any longer, I probably would have taken it over. That's interesting. We'll have to do the same route in the Y and see if it does the same thing. It seems the self-driving stack is quite a bit different for the Cybertruck. Partially, I think, is it just doesn't have as much training data. I assume they share between them by quite a bit, but there's still enough differences that it matters.
Now turn left to stay on South Goodman Road.
You appear to be on the wrong side of the road. And the visualization even knew. Was driving on the wrong side of the road after a turn. Let the engineers know that. So I believe, and I'll have to go back and look at the video when I edit this, and I may have to put a correction. That was the first disconnect I had to do because it did something dumb. If I hadn't had a car behind me, and with as open as this road usually is during the day, I would have let it go a little bit to see if it corrected itself, but there's a car behind me who is now really behind me because he probably assumes I'm a tourist that has no idea where they're going. But yeah, that was the first real problem, and oddly, the visualization had it right. So it knew where it was, and it knew it was on the wrong side of the road. It was just, confused in its turn.
In 500 feet, turn right to stay on South Goodman Road. Now turn right to stay on South Goodman Road.